You should use a condom before you listen.
The American dream is dead.
John Lyle, L.A. Lloyd, and Drew Bennett, Beaver Cool Aid.
Yummy. Yummy.
Hey.
I didn't know who was going to pick it up first and run with it, but I'm glad John did. I was just going to sit back and see who grabbed it.
The yummy. Yeah, I'm trying to reawaken myself. I just went through a 2-hour orchestra recital. 6 different orchestras.
Wow.
Middle school and high school. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What grade is Charlie in now?
Kelly.
Charlie.
Who's that?
Charlie.
Oh, Charlie. I thought you said Kelly.
No, Charlie.
I don't know. I have so many kids, I can't keep up with them. I just have numbers.
How about that fourth kid?
Grade, but it's her second year in orchestra. But she's in the junior varsity orchestra. Then there's the varsity orchestra. Then there's the honors orchestra. And they don't switch quickly. It takes a while. They all tune up there on stage, and then bit by bit, we finally get there on the tunes. But I thought that was I've done my penance.
Is she string? Is she reed? Is she is she oboe?
Cello.
That cello's a good instrument.
That is.
I got a question for you.
It's all strings.
Is she of the age where the cellos and the violins sound good, or is she of the age where they still sound like nails on a chalkboard?
You got it. That's the one. That's the one.
Sorry to hear that.
Strings are tough. I remember when my adult son was in middle school, their band, I went to see a Christmas concert and they kicked ass. Because I was in middle school band, but of course, I sucked, but they were awesome. But band is different than strings. It's a lot tougher. Strings are. Yeah. So it takes a while till you get to that point where it's not nails on the chalkboard.
That's a while.
Yes. A long while. A long while. Oh, before you're ready to hit the stage with Kansas, So it takes a while.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, when they get to invite those string players there to come in with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, she'll be up there, above the crowds. Maybe she'll move over to violin at that point, just rocking it out, wearing the rock clothing that they wear for Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and you can sit down there.
And of course, and you have to master that look where wherever you're playing hurts you.
Right, that's exactly right.
Hanging on to high voltage.
You got to make that rock face.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, that's essential.
Got to buy a couple of corsets.
Yes, that's right. Corsets and leather pants.
Yeah. So out of 6 orchestras, my daughter's the only one they're all supposed to wear black slacks, black tops, black shoes. My daughter has striped pants on.
Yeah.
Only one out of 6
She's a little
orchestras.
rebel. She's a little rebel.
That's what she said.
But I got to tell you, it looks like they are getting them ready for Trans-Siberian Orchestra if they're doing the all black, man. I'm telling you, they're setting him up.
God, I can't stand Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Dude, I love Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
And I don't think I'm alone on that. I mean, I know they got a couple of fans. But listen, I could go through an entire holiday season with never hearing that.
It is like a tradition for our family. We have literally gone to San Antonio, then Austin, back to San Antonio. We just went to see the one this past year. I mean, it's kind of a holiday tradition for us. I love it.
So, what do they call you? Trans heads? What do they call you?
They call me transgender.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling that Lou just
trans fans. You're trans fans.
That Drew just insulted your entire family culture.
He did.
That's what I'm thinking.
How dare you?
And then years ago, I poked fun at Santa on the wall, and hey,
it comes right back.
Got a little defensive, and now he's just going for the
call you a bunch of trannies.
Lloyd family culture.
A bunch of trannies. They like Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Well, I do applaud you, John, for sitting through that, man. I've sat through many, but mine have all been. I've only done a couple of orchestras there, but mine have predominantly been choir. And even at small middle age, they can usually pull off choir pretty well. But like I said, when you start that string, man, first couple of years, it's like,
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it
I've
is.
done
What did you guys play when you were young?
I did the trumpet.
I did trumpet, French horn, and baritone horn.
Yeah.
I kept changing instruments because I kept trying to find something where I was the only person playing it so I could be first chair.
And he ended up playing triangle. John's a hell of a triangle player.
There's two different kinds of trumpets. There's a cornet.
Yeah.
And then there's the trumpet, which is a longer horn.
Right.
And I had a hand-me-down horn that we couldn't tell if it was a trumpet or a cornet.
What do you mean you couldn't tell?
One's short, one's long.
Maybe I didn't have the best music teacher, but she called it a crumpet. That was the name of my horn.
Oh my God!
Because you can, visibly you see whether or not it's a cornet or a trumpet. I mean, it's pretty easy. But I guess if yours was finely crafted years ago in the backyard, as someone dismantled their still and then tried to use the tubing for something, then maybe it would have been tough to identify.
The way you can tell is if you play Chuck Mangione "Feels So Good" and it sounds pristine, you got the cornet. Because I'm sure you played that a couple of times. I know Lyle did.
No. Well, on the radio I did.
No.
Yeah,
I mean, I played it in band.
That was way after I was in band.
Okay.
We were doing things like Saturday in the Park.
Oh, look at you. I was doing like theme from Star Wars and Feels So Good and all that.
Yeah, I didn't even get close to anything like that. But I still have my trumpet. And it was my parents bought it from somebody at church it was old then in 1970, and I still have it. I'm just about as good on it now as I was back then.
You should put it like in a trophy case and hang it on the wall and, start a little music room. Kind of give Charlie some inspiration there. She'll see that trumpet hanging on the wall and she'll want to practice more on the cello. And,
there's my horn. Right.
There's Daddy's horn up there.
Right. There's Daddy's horn.
I mean, you got a few kids. You got a whole horn section if you want.
Right.
Hell, I got enough to at least have, the Partridge Family revisited. That's maybe what I ought to do, a Partridge Family tribute band. When did this happen that I'm going to cover a bunch of songs from one band, and now we're a tribute band instead of a cover band?
Yeah, that's what I want to know, too.
No, you're a cover band.
You are a cover band.
Half the time, believe me, you ain't paying tribute.
Well, there were Beatles tribute bands, right, where they would dress up like the Beatles.
Sure.
And there's Kiss tribute bands where they dress up like Kiss.
No, that's Kiss themselves. They pay tribute to themselves every night.
Oh, Lloyd, you hurt me.
That's actually Kiss.
Hey, that's only fair for him to bop you in the head with that Kiss bat after you.
Who else is in it? What other kind of tribute band is there?
There's
aside
tribute
from
bands
Kiss
for almost every group you can think of.
My point is that you have to dress up like the band and play their music in order to be a tribute band.
You have to dress. I mean, if they're not into costumes, you don't dress up like the band, do you?
Then you're a cover band, man, and I don't care.
Look, I can go down the list and tell you what we're giving away tickets for here in Austin. There's Killer Queen, Europe's greatest tribute band to Queen. There's Brit Floyd, Britain's greatest tribute. They're actually doing the 2018 Eclipse Tour, 45 years of Dark Side of the Moon. That's actually coming to Austin as a tribute band. It's not a cover band, it's a tribute band. But it's a fucking cover band at the end of the day.
Yeah, it always said they're a cover band. I'm thinking about doing a tribute band to Nelson. What do you think?
No, that's a good idea.
Because, all I got to do is throw on a blonde wig and have at it.
Mm-hmm.
What was that song, Love and Emotion?
Yes, I believe it was.
Song?
I'm going to take your word for it.
You got those, what is it, Iron Maidens?
Those are the best.
After the Rain.
Female Iron Maidens.
Iron Maidens. So, yes, those are great.
So I need to have something that's some kind of all-male vixen tribute band.
Well, she's got the leather on, okay? I mean, listen, if you go out and you look like Bruce Dickinson and you want to do an Iron Maiden cover band, as long as you look like Bruce and you got Eddie in there somewhere, then you're a tribute band. But the second you take off the costume, it doesn't matter how many songs in a row you play of one guy. You're a cover band. You have to put cost. So if Killer Queen, if the guy comes out with a mustache and buck teeth, then that's great.
He's doing
that's
that.
What I'm saying.
He is doing that.
All right.
So that's the difference.
That's a tribute. That's a tribute band.
The tribute band is where you try to look somewhat like the original band. Is that your?
I'm following you, Drew. Yeah, I'm following you, Drew.
As opposed to being just a cover band.
If you go and wear satin, captain's uniforms, and you play Beatles records with your mustache, then you're a tribute band. If you get up in your jeans and your T-shirt and you sing "Let It Be," you're a cover band.
Gotcha.
So if I wear my little captain's hat, then I can be a captain in Tennille.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Band.
I was thinking that same thing when he said captain.
Or if you get 2 long blonde wigs, you can be a Wilson tribute band.
Well, it's kind of funny you brought that up because I don't know if I'm sure you did see this story, Drew, but Paul Stanley says that Kiss should carry on even after he and Gene retire because Kiss is a concept. Now he's calling it a concept and not a band. So he's basically saying once they're tired,
like that, it's not a band.
Well, he is right. So what do you think about that? He's basically saying Gene and Paul can check out, but someone else can put on the costume and carry it on as the group Kiss, not a tribute band, but Kiss the band out on tour for the next generations.
Does nobody believe that Kiss is a business and not a band? Because they've been a business for a long time. I think they were a band up until maybe 1981. Maybe, I don't know. Some Kiss fans would say, no, you're more than that. Way past that.
I think when they took the mask off, that's when it became a business.
When they put the makeup back on is when they became a business. Mm-hmm. And so it's no surprise that they want to continue making money off of their brand after they can't do it physically themselves. I just don't see why that's I understand why people would go, well, that's crazy. But I understand why they're doing it. Don't you? I mean, it's a business.
From Gene Simmons' standpoint, I understand it. But I mean, to me, look, I'll tell you as a teenager, Rock and Roll Over was one of the first albums I ever bought. I mean, I really look forward to going to this Kiss concert, but I knew I was going to see Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter. Now I'm just going to go, who the fuck knows who's going to be wearing the makeup? I mean, if I would be like, no, it's not the same to me. So, but I was there at the beginning. So to me, I kind of frown upon this idea, but if someone just wants to go to the show to be entertained, then sure, then have at it. But to me,
look, you are not going to get those smoking hot bass riffs from someone other than Gene Simmons.
And who's got a tongue like Gene Simmons?
Kidding?
I think what people are envisioning is that it's a Kiss branded tribute band that tours the world as Kiss, and that they expect their fans to come out and see that. And I think what they're maybe getting at is that down the line you'll be able to go and see quote Kiss at a Vegas show, right? And it's branded as Kiss, and it's a Kiss experience where you get to see the history of it. Maybe you walk through some kind of hallway, and then you see the official Kiss band. Right. And that can go on forever. I think that's kind of where maybe they're going with
I think they should do it in Vegas because, like you said, you can go see Elvis tributes and you can see all the Rat Pack tributes out there. But yeah, if you're going to do it in Vegas. But to tour all over the world and brand it as, hey, you're going to get to see Kiss tonight, I don't think so. It's going to be a tribute.
On the missile. Yeah.
I think Gene would be smart. I think the band would be smart if they opened a Kiss hotel in Las Vegas where Kiss play it every weekend. And it can be whoever the hell's in the band. Because these guys are going to be dead in 10 or 15 years anyway.
I can't believe we got 7.5 minutes of conversation about Kiss with Lyle engaged.
Oh, I'm not that engaged. I kept thinking about my Milli Vanilli tribute band. I can fake it with the rest of them.
Back in the 2012 days, we brought up Screaming Ben Bennett. And now how old is he?
6.
So Screaming Ben Bennett is 6. He's in first grade. Mm-hmm.
He's a kindergartner. He'll be in first grade next year.
I'm kind of curious. Did they allow a walkout for kindergarten for, to protest the gun thing? Because it was definitely in middle school. So I was just kind of curious how far down the line it went. Did it go first grade, kindergarten? Because it was definitely middle school at a couple schools here in Austin. And I understand San Antonio is going to have a few coming up next week. So I was just kind of curious how far it went down.
My daughter goes to school.
We would get an email about that. You know what I'm saying? They would tell us.
Yeah.
And I didn't get an email about any kind of walkout with my kid.
The principal sent out an email after it happened. I mean, they kind of knew it was going to happen, but she sent out an email to parents saying it was very well organized and there was no problems and how proud she was to be their principal. And I was like, wow, I got to tell you, that's kind of ballsy for a principal because I'm sure there's a lot of people, especially in Texas, going like, wait a minute. You allowed the kids to walk outside to do a protest? And I will tell you that my daughter did do the protest, and she asked me, could she? And I gave her my blessing. I said, absolutely, go for it.
Did you give her your gun?
I told her to leave the gun at home that day.
I mean, I don't see the issue with whatever. Listen, I mean, if you want to go and protest something and it's an organized and peaceful thing, I don't really care who does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a big deal now. This is not the era of protest.
Right.
I come from the era of streaking. Can you imagine if that went on now?
There was a streaker at the Olympics.
I think we touched on that. But
what sucks is that we're not going to get any good music out of this.
No, but I'm just saying that, when you come from an era of protest and then that goes away and now it starts again, it's just a weird thing because life is so much different than the era of protest that I know, meaning the 60s, that, it's a wild thing now because, I'm surprised they don't say, well, we have to have so many chaperones per student.
Right.
For a protest.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a different time, but I have to say, and I don't know why this was kind of the final straw, but these kids on CNN, all of a sudden, Delta's backing away from the NRA and United and Hertz and Enterprise. And a lot of these businesses are finally going like, no more discounts for you members. So do we see some really strong kids out there that's finally standing up and making people take notice, at least our politicians who can change some of these gun laws?
Good luck on that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know, man.
I think you have corporate partners that leave just because they think it's bad for business.
Yeah.
If they thought it was good for business, they'd stay. They don't care. But I think that, once again, I don't know if you guys have heard this before. Something I came up with just the other day when I was in thought. Okay, I've been hyperventilating on the back of my rubber pants. But children are our future. I know that's a weird concept. I noticed both of you were a little quiet there.
Generation Z is what we're talking about.
Children are our future.
If you finish this Whitney Houston lyric, I'm hanging up the phone right now.
I'm not going to finish it. Because it's mine. What are you talking about? Who's Whitney? Who?
Yeah, Whitney Houston.
Is that the cotton gin?
Yeah.
Who are you talking about here?
Right.
Or is that the steam engine? Which one
Whitney
is
Houston
invented?
Oh,
is that the
boy.
sewing machine or the light bulb? I mean, I can't remember, but no, I always wait for the youth to rise up and say, enough. Screw you, helicopter parent. As long as you still pay my cell phone bill.
I thought it was good. I mean,
I want them to do that. I want them to do more of it. I was really proud of those kids in Florida.
I was very proud. I mean, when they were standing there face to face with Rubio, who got $3.5 million from the NRA, and it's like, hey, man, say you're not going to, back these guys. You're
not going to take the money.
Right. And he couldn't do it. He would not do it.
Of course he couldn't do it.
So
and it was extremely embarrassing. It's the same thing. All these people are wooden. And they know they can't back down because they feel like they're going to alienate too much of their constituency and they won't get elected. So reelected. And that's my point is with so many of these people, term limits. Congress, if you look at the way Congress was designed, the House of Representatives, it's there to change over every 2 years. It's supposed to be the voice of the people. And yet when you see these guys that have been in the House for 20, 30, they have to run constantly. Their term is only for 2 years.
You're right.
They're supposed to be change all the time. It's supposed to be. It was set up so that humble L.A. Lloyd could take a couple of years off and go and work with government for a while, and then he was out.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't afford to stay any longer than that. And then he's back in. This happens in Texas on the state level. Same thing. If you're in the state house or you're in the Senate, you don't get paid much money, but if you stay there long enough, your pension is incredible. And that's what you get for the the duration of your life. I mean, we got this guy here, Carlos Uresti, that's just got convicted on 11 felony counts, and he's got other stuff going on. Dude's in line for, you don't make any money when you're actually doing the job, but then after that, dude's in line already for an $80,000 a year pension.
Wow.
Because he's been doing this for 20 years. I didn't know about this until a few years ago.
Are you saying that Mitch McConnell is worn out his welcome?
Excuse me?
Are you saying that Mitch McConnell is worn out his welcome?
What do you think?
Yeah.
But everybody looks, they go, well, I've been in the House for this many. No, you're supposed to be in the House for 2-4 years at most. We need to term limit these people out. Get rid of them.
I'm excited about
how many people are interested in that job in the first place.
Oh, believe me, there are plenty of them. But
isn't it just a small group of people with some kind of a mental issue that with the exception of just a few people? Isn't it?
Yeah,
don't you have to have some kind of a? Don't you have to have some kind of a screw loose?
I honestly,
elementary school that you wanted to hit. That's it. Of course it is.
To me, the spark was relit. I mean, I grew up in a very political family. My father's run for office, and I enjoyed it in my teenage years. I really did. It was fun. It was exciting. I mean, it's kind of like, pulling for the Spurs or for the Longhorns. You had your team. You had Team Republican or Team Democrat or whoever you were going for, and it was really exciting. I mean, you really build up to, it was almost like going to the Super Bowl for election day. It's like you work your ass off, you hang posters for your candidate, and I did this all in my teenage years, and then I kind of got out of it once I got in the radio. But I have to tell you, these kids in Florida really sparked me again to get back involved in politics. And I'm not going to say I'm going to run for an office, but I definitely would. I would go out and find a candidate that I like, and I would go out and support it. I know, and believe me, I will do my homework before I vote, but I would love to find a candidate that I could get behind and really go out for some rallies and get back into politics again, because I really thought those kids invigorated me. They did. And I was excited about politics again.
And I got that, and I hate that it took such a tragic circumstance to maybe
me too
reignite your passion.
I agree.
And for years I was not in favor of term limits, because I thought if somebody's doing a great job, why can't they keep doing it? But then you realize, well, you kind of have to sacrifice a few for the good of everyone. And I'm telling you, we need term limits with all these motherfuckers. And I don't say that very often, but we need term limits with all of them. There's no reason why a Nancy Pelosi should be in office as long as she has. There's no reason why just anybody in the House. There's absolutely no reason for them to be there longer than 2 terms.
Well, it doesn't
look why it was set up that way. It was set up so that because people couldn't, you got to think back then things were agrarian. You couldn't take much time off from what you were doing. So that was supposed to be like, that was the people's house. It moved. You do a couple of years, you're out. You're a scufflog. People know that, then you're out. You're a drunk, you're out. You're okay. Okay, well, another couple of years, but then you're out because you couldn't afford to do otherwise. And in the Senate, you had 6-year terms. You could oversee things a little bit more.
One of these long-termers, Dianne Feinstein, is not going to get the backing from California. She's been there God, when I was living out in L.A., you talk about a person who's been in office forever, but looks like her own party has turned on her. So
yeah, the state Dems there in California are not thrilled because enough is enough, and I think that's true with all these people.
I see an uprising. I feel very much like you said. It sucks that a tragedy had to invigorate me, but I hope it does invigorate at least people to look at 2018's coming. There's a primary here. There's a general election coming. There's some major elections in our state in Texas, and hopefully we can get
next Tuesday.
Hopefully we can get fuckheads like Dan Patrick the fuck out of office somehow, some way. At least that's number one on my hit list, to get him the fuck out. And looks like, Ted Cruz is up for a battle too. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Cruz posters here in Austin. Of course, I live in Austin, but I mean, I haven't seen a lot of people that.
Well, no, his battle is not for the nominee. His battle is not here in the primaries. It'll be maybe in the general.
Looks like this Beto or Beto guy is the Austin choice. Is it Beto? Yeah. Seems like he's the guy that everyone seems to love up here.
So we're hoping, but it's tough because it's a statewide office, and no Democrat's been elected to statewide office since Ann Richards was governor. So it's been a long time. Long
2 million kids are going to be able to vote for the first time this next election.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I did this post. I lost more followers on Twitter just because I said, a little bit of applauding the kids and, enough's enough. Fuck these assault weapons. And boy, the NRA just came out, and some of these people I thought were kind of like friends. Boy, unfollow, drop you, fuck you, kiss my ass, you piece of shit. You're coming for my gun. No, we're not. We're not coming for your gun.
They don't understand, dude. You just want to get down on a knee and say, dude, we may have our differences, but I'm a redneck too.
Exactly.
I'm a redneck.
I own shotguns and pistols and 22 rifles, but I just don't need an assault weapon. Not that I'm going to go out and kill any deer with any gun because I don't hunt, but I don't mind people that do that anymore. I have. But I just don't do it anymore. But if you need an assault weapon to kill a deer, to slaughter a deer, if you need 30 bullets, you need to fucking give that gun up and go back to the shooting range because you're a shitty shot.
Though, Lloyd. I'm a terrible shot.
But you don't need to fucking have a magazine of 30 bullets to kill a fucking deer. You just don't. You just suck.
Well, that's not, as well as I do, that's not what it's about, dude. It's about firepower. If I got over 400 cubic inches of engine, it's not about, that's what I really need to get up to 60.
Right.
I like it. It's power. It's not about, and that's what it is.
Right. You're right.
But, when it comes to the gun thing, we're way too armed. Not going to happen.
Way too armed.
I think maybe I mentioned this the last time we were together. I don't remember, but we've got 5% of the population, and the U.S. does, the world population, and we have 40% of the firearms.
Wow.
But I just think politically, if people are looking for a political solution, then term limits help you a lot,
right?
So that people you're turning over people all the time. And I think it's harder for special interests to get involved because once you get these people in there that are career politicians, think about it. If they get voted out, they don't know what to do. They've been in politics for so long.
Yeah.
This is how they support themselves. And of course, they always leave richer because of all the connections they've made. And just like all these people that immediately turn into lobbyists because they know that's where the big dough is and they know everything works. Term limits, man. Send them out, be done. Because between gerrymandering and special interest, it's very, very difficult to have any true political change.
I agree with you, but do you think it's going to happen?
The constituents are there. People will say whatever. But, really, how silly was it for the president to say, well, let's just go ahead and arm those school teachers. And I saw something somewhere where somebody goes, yeah, imagine you're you're the black school teacher with a gun. There's an incident at school. Yeah. What do you think your chances of survival are?
Right. Imagine you're standing there with a gun and the SWAT team comes through the front door and you're standing there with a 38 special.
But this stuff is just it's gotten so incredibly silly when there's no common sense prevailing. You know, Lloyd, I think you ought to quit whatever you're doing, man, and run for office. That's what I think.
You know what? When I went back to North Carolina, I went there for 10 days and I spent some time on the farm, got out of the city, did some manual labor, you know, really took me back to my childhood when I was living there. And just a lot of weird things have happened that I'm really excited about politics again. And I know that sounds crazy because it's so separated. Republican, Democrat, and I'll go out there and tell you, I'm still sticking with the party that I was raised on, the Republicans, even though I don't feel like I relate to anything the GOP has going on right now. I'm definitely somewhere in the middle, but I haven't jumped over to the Democrat shit because I think they're weak and powerless too. So I find myself somewhere in the middle, but I'm still affiliated with the Republican Party.
Which is really funny because, excuse me, the Republican Party in North Carolina at the time when Lloyd was getting involved in his father's campaign and whatnot was extremely weak.
It was very weak.
Not the case now, but at that time, yeah.
We elected the first Republican governor in 100 years when I was 14, 15 years old. So again,
James Holshouser.
Right. Imagine, you go through this entire 100 years of a state that was fully Democratic. You're raised Republican, you're, Lincoln's party, you're the party of Lincoln, blah, blah, blah. And in North Carolina, and then finally we get a governor elected and I'm 14 and I'm going like, wow, this is great. I should really get into politics. I really love it. And then I kind of went away. And then I've always...
Well, yeah, you went away to Western Carolina and that's usually not where the pedigree is fine-tuned.
Right. A little more liberal over there in the mountains, if you can believe that. They got a lot more pot in the western part of North Carolina than they do in the eastern part. I can tell you that.
I wish you the best of luck with
Thank
that.
you. Well, I might make you my campaign manager, and at least I'll get you to do my spots for me. And I'll just say, I approve this message. Thank you, John Lyle.
I think I was trying to remember some of the first campaigns I worked on, and Zach Galifianakis, his uncle, Nick Galifianakis, was a congressman. I worked on his campaign a little bit, just as a child, just putting out flyers or whatnot, which I think is really good to get kids. And I'm telling you, Charlie, my 12-year-old, she is so politically aware, but she's also aware of the fact that she goes to school in Bernie, in Kendall County. And most of the kids she goes to school with are very conservative because their parents are.
Absolutely.
Very religious and very conservative.
Well, I'm inspired.
And she's neither.
I'm inspired. I am inspired by kids. I mean, and again, it's only Florida and they should be mad and they should be angry. But to stand down face to face, eye to eye with Rubio, I just got invigorated. I really did. It isn't
only Florida. It's nationwide.
But the only time I've seen the youth really get excited about a candidate is when, the millennials went for Bernie Sanders. And then, of course, he even got fucked over by his party. And so I think they just said, well, fuck it, man. It's just, is this how corrupt the shit is? And Trump gets elected and... so...
Well, that's what it is. It's also attention span. You have to be able to that's the toughest thing, like for all people, to learn patience, and that if you're going to have political change, it takes time.
Yeah.
It's kind of a slow thing. Sometimes you can have a movement, but if you start thinking about political movements over the last 10, 15 years, what do you come up with? They're all, Tea Party. It's mainly conservative stuff.
Right.
But that's what, if you can get to people into activism, that was always the knock that always pissed me off on Barack Obama. Well, he was a community organizer.
Mm.
Yeah. How awful is that? You're trying to get people to go out and vote, to go out and advocate for themselves. You know, we shouldn't have that. Somehow you should just pipe down.
I don't think these kids will pipe down. I mean, like I said, I think there's anger. I think there's hurt. I think there's emotions that have got these kids invigorated. And like I said, some of them obviously who are doing walkouts and protests aren't even close to voting age, but by 2020 they might be, and some even in 2018 might be. So again, that's what I posted on Facebook. I was like, be alert of who turns 18 this year, gentlemen and ladies, because guess what? They might be voting against you.
But see, that's where you're wrong, dude. This is what I told Kinky Friedman when he was running for governor. And he said, I got a lot of young people behind me. And I said, you know, the problem, Kinky, is that they'll talk it. They'll talk all about it. And you can get a lot of college students, and it seems like they're behind me. They're there. They don't go out and vote.
Well, I don't know.
They just don't do it.
They did for Barack Obama, though. They got behind, but they got behind
one time. But you could have had more. But usually they don't. And until we change the way we vote, I don't think you're going to get the numbers you need.
Well, I still believe if Bernie Sanders had won the primary and ran against Trump, he would have won president. I really do. I still believe that. I think the millennials would have put him in office. I don't think so.
Well, no, I just don't think that they go out and really they talk the game, but then they don't really go out and do anything. And you got to remember, with Barack Obama, it was only in 2008 that they did that. They didn't do it in 2012. They did it in 2008.
That is true.
And that's because the Obama campaign really, really organized the social media side of things.
Obama and I are about the same age. Drew, how about the Gen Xers, man? Who are they going for? You know, you're a Gen Xer, man. Who's the Gen Xers going for?
I don't think the Gen Xers care. We never did.
They gotta. You can't say whatever, dude. The Gen Xers are a huge population. I mean, I was not a baby boomer. I wasn't really a Gen Xer. I was kind of a tweener myself. So, you know, I don't really relate to any.
We were the first generation to realize we were given a sack of nuts from the baby boomer generation. You know what I mean? We were disenchanted when we were 18.
I'm at the tail end of it, but thank you. You're welcome.
I'm just kind of curious where Gen X stands in this. I mean, the millennials kind of had their Bernie. You know, Gen X to me should be the next generation that really should rise up and go like, okay, man, we're next. I mean, I had Obama, you know, I had kind of Clinton.
No,
but
dude, it doesn't
think
matter.
That, but it's not going to be like that. No. You're going to have half of the people who are, you know, pro gun and pro possession of firearms. And then you're going to have people in Gen X who are polar opposite. I don't think it's going to be this big group of Gen Xers who are against.
Gen X should at least get pot legalized. If they do anything for your generation, get it.
Well, we're getting closer than we. I mean, I thought 40 years ago that as soon as these old guys were out, pot would be legal. That was 40 years ago.
Yeah,
over 40 years ago. And like 45 years ago, and slowly we're getting there. But
I watched a Woody Allen, Billy Graham interview from 1972 where they talked about being hopeful for marijuana legalization.
Yeah, I thought it was only a matter of time before, the older people were gone and that it was done. But then a lot of these younger people that maybe advocated for it at one time, then they changed their tune. They flipped. Yeah. And, you got guys like freaking Bill Clinton, I didn't inhale. What is that nonsense? I mean, it's just like you can always say. I mean, I don't know how many people who have really who have died because they collided with a driver on the highway who was high versus drunk.
No.
But that's just one of many things. I thought after Vietnam, I'd never see us in any kind of quagmire like that ever again. And how long have we been in Afghanistan?
Yeah.
I think individually your politics change over time. And your values change over time. And so I don't think that you can predict what an entire generation of people are going to do.
Absolutely not. It's always easy to feel like you're going to be active for a certain cause until you start making some money, you have children, you have investments, and then everybody changes because they don't want to lose theirs. Oh, I worked so hard to get mine.
Well, you sound like a fiscally conservative Republican there all of a sudden who has a liberal agenda. It's like, well, I'm pro-life, but I'm for the death penalty, but I've got my 401k, and I don't want to really give anything to that fucking scumbag over there who wants a handout. So
yeah, and then everybody is, and they all of a sudden before it seemed like you were there for the plight of your brother, but then later on it's like, no, this is what I've amassed, and I don't want anybody to touch it. I don't want
Plenty of people that lived in the 60s, throwing up flowers of peace signs.
Yeah,
that ended up hanging up on Wall Street later on in their life. Right, plenty of them. I just think it changes over time.
There's so much hypocrisy going back and forth about who you are. I really think there is a middle of the United States. You're not right. You're not left. And maybe this is where this purple thing is coming. Like Texas is becoming a purple state. Okay. Maybe we are. Maybe we aren't. I've always been kind of purple my whole life. I'm somewhere in the middle, like I said, but you kind of have to pick your agenda. You have to pick your team. And going back to what I said earlier, in November, when the Super Bowl comes around, you got to rally for your team. You got to rally for your guy. You got to rally for your woman. And so it's kind of hard sometimes to make that decision.
Hang on a second. I got Greg Abbott on the phone. Hang on. I need to take this call.
I think the only time that that a generation is consistent politically and has some value there is when the world is at war. And I think we can look at World War II and that generation,
right,
as a generation that worked together for a political purpose that lasted. We can look at that generation now and go, well, they saved the world.
Yeah.
I think every other generation beyond that, I think you can look at the 60s anyway as a great example and say, well, this was a time of protest and a time of political upheaval. But later on down the line, these people moved off into different places. Some of them stayed liberal. Some of them moved off and became conservatives.
Yeah.
Libertarians and whatever. I just don't think that any generation beyond the greatest generation.
I have a feeling that a lot of hippies are now Trump people. I really do. I don't know why, but I think a lot of these guys are Trump people now who was free love, free drugs. Oh, yeah.
But I think, you can't compare World War II and what went on with that after not with say, a Vietnam, which was just exhaustive. Look how long Vietnam lasted versus our involvement in World War II. It was just one of these things that you thought we'd never get into again.
I will not send any more of our boys over there to fight an Asian war.
Yeah, it didn't threaten our existence. It was just political.
Yeah.
So
haven't the rest of them beyond that gotten that way?
Right, and that's the reason why I always felt like if you're going to have these, whatever you're getting into, then you need to have conscription and you've got to have the draft so that everybody's looking at something. So they got skin in the game. And that's the only way to do it, because otherwise these things drag on forever and you don't think about it anymore because it's not front page, because it's not something that you see on your site. When was the last time you pulled up? I don't care. I watch, I pay attention to the Daily Beast, HuffPost, Yahoo, whatever. When was the last time you saw a story about the U.S. in Iraq or Afghanistan? Honestly, you don't see it.
No, you don't.
See none of it.
Nope.
It just fades. So you forget about it because all you see are Trump hijinks. But there's still these people that are there. And years ago, I used to be really pissed off because I thought these kids are there and putting their life on the line. And they think maybe that the country is aware of this, or they're behind them, or they're paying attention. And the answer was no. They left this a long time ago. They're not paying attention to any of this. Now, the military families, of course, do.
Right. That's what I was about to say.
It's gone. But we're still there. So as long as the Soviets were bogged down in Afghanistan, and we thought, hey, that's great, you know, it's bogged them down and they're not getting anywhere, and we're going to sit there and arm the Mujahideen and whatever, doesn't matter. We've been there far longer.
We're doing the same thing.
But I think ours is strategic as well. I mean, you know, otherwise we wouldn't be there. They could just go and let it all collapse. It's all strategic, but way too long. Far, far too long. And where are the people talking about that? Where are the people talking about, you know, enough? Let's get out of this crap.
There's plenty of people still talking about Iraq.
I personally
where are they?
believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and
yeah, exactly. There you go. That's what you get.
That was really nice.
Yeah, it was.
Look, let me tell you something. Those kids in Florida spoke way better than whoever that was you just played there, Drew. That was great. But thank you for adding that to the show.
That was Miss Teen USA 2007.
Is that who that was?
Yes.
I had no idea.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that.
That's why you had the sound down while you were choking it.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. That's
true. But no, I mean, I was very encouraged by the kids in South Florida, and I want more of that.
A major worldwide global icon passed away this week. And I think that me personally, a guy who I admire and respected, passed away, Billy Graham. And I just feel like I need to at least acknowledge him in this podcast before we shut it down today. I thought he was an amazing man. I think his son, not so much because he's in bed with Trump. But, you know, I thought Billy managed to ride it out his entire life. He was with a lot of high-profile politicians and presidents, etc. But he always managed to keep that in the middle thing. He never got too political. Franklin is all up Trump's ass right now, which kind of pisses me off because I think that Billy's legacy is going to go to shit because Franklin is doing the thing with Trump. So
because Franklin is a POS.
Well,
so yes, Billy Graham. For those of us in North Carolina, we knew Billy Graham all of our lives.
Right.
He's around for a long time. I don't know about the whole. I was talking to my soon to be 86-year-old mother, lifelong Southern Baptist, about Billy in the rotunda, and she didn't know how she felt about that.
Right.
And then we went on from that to, of course, smack Franklin, but Billy was okay. I got to say, beyond the religious stuff, I love what he did with the Fillmore. I thought Fillmore West, I thought he did a great job with that. He brought us some great rock music.
Oh my God!
Sorry.
Did you ever get to see Billy live? Did you ever get to see Billy live in concert? Because I got to see him once.
No, the last time he was here in San Antonio was 21 years ago in 1997, and I didn't go. And I'm not a very religious guy. And you know that, Lloyd.
I
mean,
know
I
that.
don't know if Drew knows that, but you know, I was raised in the church and everything
Right.
else. Yeah, Billy Graham was a big deal, and there he was. But you know, it's you know, the biggest thing on Billy Graham, there are certain things that he did when he appealed to Soviets. He would, you know, reach out to, you know, kind of, even though
In China.
presidents loved him and were there, he would reach out to areas that weren't exactly that were
Christian.
political hot potatoes, and he'd go ahead and try it. But You know, I mean, there's another one. That dude, just like your was it your great aunt? I mean, 99?
99. They were born the same year. Just passed away.
He was there.
Yeah.
But I just wish he had. I wish he had figured out a way to get rid of Franklin.
Yeah, Franklin.
Whatever he built up is just being.
It's going to get taken away
quickly by his son Franklin.
Well, the great thing about Billy is, and like I said, the coffin he's in was built by prisoners. It's a pine coffin. It's very simple and
just like Ruth.
Like Ruth, same way. And I have to say, I admire that about Billy. If that's the way you're going to go out, that you're doing that. I mean, I thought that was really amazing. And like I said, I don't think as Osteen's going to go out in a pine coffin or any of the other super evangelist from here on out.
Lloyd, you're wrong. I have already picked out my simple pine coffin that I will be. Sorry, that's my Joel Osteen impression.
That was nice. Well, God bless you. It's a pleasure to be in your house. I always like to start out with something funny.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine being 99 and you're still being called Billy.
Billy.
At some point, do you say, just call me William or Bill?
Right.
Instead of the diminutive.
He's Billy.
You're 99 and being called Billy.
Well, he was a great man. I applaud him. I thought he lived a great life. I'd love to see more people like that, and he's inspired me. So I pay tribute to him on Beaver Cool Aid, the dirtiest podcast out there. Kind of.
Well, we're certainly not the dirtiest, but it's so wild that probably the only one that paid tribute to
Billy,
the rock slant to Billy Graham.
Yeah.
You want to get politically active? You want to do something tomorrow?
Yes.
Quit eating Papa John's pizza.
Wow. Why is that?
Because Lou's got I keep saying Lou. Drew's got a lead pipe up his ass for the Papa John's guy.
Well, he's got some bad plastic surgery. I'll start right there, and then you can pick it up, Drew.
Well, no, listen, the reason that he's in the news is because the NFL and Papa John's have mutually ended their co-sponsorship or whatever. Papa John's is still going to hold, sponsorship deals with 22 of the 32 NFL teams. So they're still going to reach, their eaters that way. But the reason that they severed their relationship, they called it mutual. And it's because Steve Ritchie said that the NFL's handling of the protest, the individual players during the national anthem, he equated that, or rather connected it, to declining sales of his pizza.
How is that possible?
Yeah,
all right.
It's called taste.
Yeah, really.
That's
really the word pizza on the market.
It's about the declining sales of your pizza.
Right.
Taste.
Because your pizza sucks. Let me just drop a little wisdom on you there, bud. Everybody still goes to Chick-fil-A because the chicken's good. But my point is that Steve Ritchie's he's a douchebag. All right, and he always has been. This is the same guy who didn't want to pay any of his people and said he was going to have to raise the price of his pizza and And now they finally got booted out of the NFL because he said that declining pizza sales were a result of the national anthem and how it was handled in the NFL. He's a fucking idiot. Quit eating his pizza. That's all I wanted to say. Sorry, I couldn't be funny about it. He's just a fucking dumbass.
Well, you don't have to be. I don't think anybody was funny, but
I don't think there's been anything really funny about this entire podcast. But I will say, occasionally, this was some really intelligent conversation. Well, I don't know if intelligence is the right word. I thought it was an engaging conversation. That there was a lot of stuff I wanted to get off my chest, and I felt like I was able to do it today. And I know we haven't done a podcast in 3 weeks. We did one last week, but
hey, listen, it's all my fault.
We didn't do it. No, it was my fault. I flew in. I was tired. I mean, it was just, look, there's sometimes you have to shelve it.
I was doing heroin. Sorry, guys. I was in HEB, and I saw an Instant Pot for $75.
Shoulda got it.
And I didn't know if that was a good buy or not.
Did you hear that some of them are melting?
Yeah, I did see that, but and the company was not really there. They want to try to figure it out. But I saw that, because you brought that to mind. Is $75 a good price, Lloyd? I didn't know how much you put in.
Absolutely, that's a great price.
Like, man, how much is it worth to burn down your house? $75, $80.
Well, I mean, everything has. I don't know if I'll use it or not. You know, it's either that or a dryer or fryer. I don't really know if I'll use that either. But I'd see this a lot of these. You know, the Instant Pot is sold so much that there are a lot of different recipes there. So I didn't really know.
I saw a commercial for one the other day, and the girl's like, "You can even make rice." I'm like, "You know what else you can do? Put some fucking water in a pan, stick the bag."
Yeah,
in it.
yeah. You can put it in a saucepan and make rice, but the Instant Pot, Drew, don't be such a hater, man. What do you have over the Instant Pot over a saucepan?
I just think it's a way. Listen, it's just like anything else. It's the next thing, right? It's the next thing to take up space on your counter.
That's the George Foreman grill. It's the this.
Right.
It's the that. You know,
Right.
I don't.
It's the copper fucking pan.
I'm just like with you.
Yeah.
I got it, man. I got an oven. I got a cooktop. You know.
Yeah. That's all
And
you
I
need.
can make everything work. I don't need a special little device to make it happen.
Yeah.
Though I will say, a crock pot will do things you can't do in either.
You're right.
So, I mean,
Get yourself an iron skillet, a pan, and a crock pot. And quit buying the Ninja bullshit that they try to sell you online.
I'm not a big slow cooker fan, but I know that there's nothing else that I can put on and leave all day and not worry about it.
Yeah, I'm with you on the crock pot.
Let me tell you this. While you guys were just talking about the crock pot, I turned my mic off, went and took a piss, came back, and jumped right back into the conversation and never missed a fucking beat.
You know what happened? Lyle, while we were sitting there talking, he went into the kitchen, made an entire 7-course meal in his Instapot, beef stroganoff, came back, took a piss on it.
And that's how you do a Beaver Cool Aid.
I will go to your party and I will tear it up.
Really? Beaver Cool Aid
Get it hard.
with Lyle, L.A. Lloyd, and Drew.
Make it like a man.
So go ahead, stick your head up your ass.